Hello everyone, welcome to Sharmit. In this session, we are going to discuss about another important topic of CSS, that is syntax and types of selector. In previous session, we discussed what is CSS, why do we need CSS, but in this session, we are going to talk about how we can write a syntax or a structure of a CSS. Okay. But before we proceed further, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions and playlist because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow them sequentially, then it would be much easier for you to understand the ongoing topic. But for time being, we are just mainly focusing on the syntax of CSS and the types of CSS selector. Okay. Now, here I want to tell you one thing, that we are not going to run any program or we are not going to see anything on a browser. I have just noted down some syntax of CSS and all the types of CSS selectors on my comments section. You can see here the program is just for the basic structure, and then these are the comment lines. So I just want to tell you how to use the syntax, but later we will see each and everything practically also. Okay. Fine. So let's focus on the syntax of CSS. So whenever there is a discussion regarding the syntax of CSS, so you will always find that there is one selector in the syntax and one decoration block. So this part is called as selector of the CSS and this part is called as decoration block. Okay. Now there might be in decoration block there are two things. One is property and another one is its value. Okay, so property and value. So everything is divided into two parts, property and value. In one decoration block, there might be multiple properties and value, and each property and value will be separated with semicolon. Clear? So you can see this is one property we have applied, this is the second one, this is the third one. Clear? So now you can see that this entire block is known as, or you can say this is the syntax or structure to use the CSS. Okay. Now to make it more clear, let's see one example. So here from line number 28, you can see that here we are applying the CSS properties to paragraph element. Okay. So this thing is called as this thing is called as selector. This P is a selector. Then we have decoration block. In decoration block, we have applied two properties. One is color and this property value is blue. Then we use semicolon to terminate the property. Then we have font size, which is a second property, and the value is 16 pixels, semicolon. Clear? So this is the structure to write a property, to write a CSS with two properties for P element. Clear? Now to make it more simple, let's break it down step by step. So here, as we discussed, P is the selector for the target paragraph elements. So if you are applying this kind of CSS value to any web page, it will apply all CSS property to the paragraph tag. Then we have color, which is a property, we all know. Font size is a property, we all know. Then we have blue. Blue means the value of the property. Okay, so blue is the value of the property, 16 pixel is the value of the property. Then we have curly braces. Curly braces are used to enclose the entire declaration. So always make sure that you are using the same curly braces. Don't go for any of the parenthesis or square bracket. It won't work. Clear? And then we have semicolon, which is mainly used to separate the properties, and we can see here two properties are separated by semicolons. Clear? Then we have types of CSS selector, because now syntax is clear that yes, whenever we look at the CSS file or we will see any CSS property, we will see that yes, there is one selector and there are some properties applied to that selector. Now the question arises, how many types of selector values are there? How many types of selectors are there? So there are multiple selectors. I'll tell you each and every one. The first one is element selector. In element selector, we have just one element here. You can see H1. So if we apply this kind of CSS to any of the element which is h1 right now. So these all property will be applied to h1 element. Clear? Now what it will do, like this part, this h1 is called as element selector. Then second type of selector is class selector. Sometime what we can do, we can apply a class to multiple HTML element, and on that class we can apply the CSS through class selector. But the question arises, how we will identify whether it's a class element or different element? So always a class element will be started with a dot symbol. Okay, so you can see here dot my class. If there is no hyphen, that is fine, that can work. But if there is no dot, that won't work, because each class is accessed by dot. So there should be a dot prior to the class name. Clear? So this class we can assign during the HTML playlist. We discuss how to declare class and ID, right? So those classes and ID can be accessed here to apply the CSS property. So here we are using dot my class to access my class property. Clear? Fine. Then similarly we have ID class, ID selector, where ID can be identified with a hash symbol. Okay, so suppose there is one HTML web page where we have applied some IDs to paragraph, headings or tables or anything. So in that case, if you want to apply some CSS to those IDs, you can simply utilize hash in prior hash with the name of the ID to access that particular ID and to apply the properties on that ID. Clear? So with this example, you can simply say that hash my ID is the ID selector, where hash is representing the ID. In case of class, dot my class is a class selector, where dot is representing the class. In case of element selector, there is nothing like dot or hash. Clear? Fine. Then what we have group selector. What is group selector? So when you want to apply property using CSS to multiple elements, then in that case we will go with a group selector. So you can see here we are applying the properties to two elements. One is h1 and another one is a p, where h1 is representing the heading 1, and p is representing the paragraph. So by applying this kind of property or by applying this kind of CSS, it will apply margin 10px to all heading 1 and paragraphs. Now what is margin? Margin, we all know, we saw a syntax that it is a property. Then we have 10px. What is 10px? 10px is the value. Clear? So this is called group selector when you are applying it for multiple property. Then later on we have attribute selector. What is attribute selector? So in this scenario, what will happen? We will apply the properties to a particular attribute. Okay, so these are the all possible, not possible, I would say these are some of them. Yeah, you can say that these are the different kind of selector that we can use to apply the CSS property. Okay, so mainly what we discussed so far, we discussed what is syntax of CSS and how many types of CSS selectors are there that we can use to apply CSS properties. So now, so far we just discussed, we saw the syntax, right? So now it is very easy for you, because when we will be writing the code, when we will be writing the actual CSS, at that time I can directly write that p curly braces, color blue, font size 16. So you can easily understand, okay, I am applying the element selector where p is my element, property is color and value is blue. Similarly, another property is font size and value is 16px, and I am utilizing this semicolon to terminate the property or to separate the property. Clear? So I think now this is quite clear to each and every one of you that yes, how syntax look like when we are defining the CSS, and also we have discussed the types of selectors which consist element selector, class selector, ID selector, group selector, and attribute selector. So as per the program requirement, we will utilize all these type of selector. Clear? So yeah, that's all for today. In the next session, we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.